Be honest, really honest, without that polished version you tell your family at Thanksgiving dinner. Have you ever opened your wallet after seeing a sad-eyed puppy on TV? Have you ever typed your credit card number at 2 a.m. because a commercial showed a child with that specific look? You know, that look calculated down to the millimeter to make you feel like a monster for eating Doritos on the couch? Have you ever donated to a cause whose name you couldn't even pronounce properly, just because the IO counter on the screen said every second mattered? Then stay here, because what I'm about to tell you will change the way you watch TV, scroll through your Instagram feed, and, most importantly, how you answer the door when that smiling person in a colorful vest appears asking for your monthly subscription to save the dolphins of the Atlantic. Let me put you in a scene. It's a typical Saturday afternoon in the United States. You're on the couch with that classic mix of guilt for not going to the gym and satisfaction for ordering pizza. The television is on. A face appears. A woman, preferably with a slightly foreign accent, because that increases the conversion rate by 7%, and she begins to speak slowly, with that trembling voice that was rehearsed in a studio. In the background, a song that sounds exactly like sadness in chord form. And then the children appear, always the children, with those big eyes, and a caption that says that for just $19.99 a month, you can change a life. And before you finish thinking whether $19.99 isn't actually the price of a good lunch, you've already picked up the phone. You were already dialing. Your brain hadn't even entered the conversation. And here's the twist that nobody tells you while you're still feeling noble for having donated. What you just experienced wasn't compassion. It was emotional positioning. There's a huge difference between the two, and that difference is worth billions of dollars a year to the emotional appeals industry in the United States. Billions with a capital B. More than the GDP of several countries that appear in those commercials. These appeals weren't built to inform you. They were built to move you quickly enough that your logic can't grasp the emotion before the decision is already made. And that's not an accident. That's engineering. That's design. It's an entire industry of consultants, behavioral psychologists, and marketing specialists who spend their days studying exactly how long it takes to transform your guilt into transferred money. They have a name for it. They have spreadsheets. They have Monday morning meetings where they discuss tier-per-click conversion rates. What's happening to you right now has a technical name, but I'll translate it into more honest language. It's the urgency guilt response cycle. It works like this. First, they show you the pain. Visual pain, auditory. Pain with captions in large font to ensure you don't escape. Then comes the urgency, the countdown, the deadline. This is your last day to make a difference. Then the moral pressure, that specific feeling that if you don't act now, you're part of the problem. And then, finally, comes the relief, the action, the donation. And this relief, this sigh of, "Phew, I did the right thing," is exactly what they were selling from the beginning. Not the cause, the relief from your guilt. It's like being emotionally pushed toward a decision before your brain has a chance to examine anything. Imagine someone appears in front of you, yells fire, and you run. Except there was no fire at all. It was a very well-produced, staged scene of fire, and you just ran in the direction they wanted you to. Why does this work for you? Because you don't want to feel selfish. Nobody does. You want to feel human. You want to be the person who matters, who acts, who makes a difference. And this genuine desire, this beautiful and real trait of your personality, is exactly the point of vulnerability that every emotional appeal campaign targets with surgical precision. I'm not saying you're weak. I'm saying you're human. And being human, in this specific context, means being predictable in ways that generate a lot of money for other people. Think about it. Now I'm going to give you some signs. Signs that you were driven emotionally and didn't make a rational decision. You donated too quickly. You didn't check anything. You didn't research the organization. You didn't read the financial report. You didn't ask how much of your donation actually goes to the cause and how much goes to the salary of the CEO who lives in a huge house in Connecticut. You felt bad before giving and relieved afterward. The donation didn't solve the cause's problem. It solved your emotional discomfort. You donated to escape a bad feeling, not to build something. Tell me that wasn't exactly it. Tell me with a serious face. And here's the crux of the matter. That wasn't a rational decision. It was an emotional reaction packaged as a virtue. Beautifully packaged, with a bow and everything, ready for you to post on Instagram saying it made a difference. But deep down, if you're honest with yourself, you know you didn't stop to think. You reacted. And there's a huge difference between reacting and deciding. And the unseen consequence of this, the part few are willing to say out loud, is that when you repeat this pattern, when you donate every time you feel guilt or enough emotional pressure, you are training yourself. You are teaching your brain that the correct response to emotional pressure is to open your wallet. Slowly, without realizing, guilt transforms into a payment trigger. You are no longer donating by choice. You are paying to escape a bad feeling. It's an emotional subscription, renewed every time the next well-produced campaign appears on your screen. Let it in. Helping people isn't the problem. For God's sake, I'm not telling you to turn into a heartless robot that checks spreadsheets before every human action. Generosity isn't weakness. But manipulated generosity is still manipulation. Even if you feel good in the end, even if the feeling is genuine, the mechanism used to achieve this generosity was built to circumvent you, not to include you in the decision. So what to do? It's simple. First, pause. Just pause. If the urgency is real, it will still be real 24 hours from now. If it disappears after you wait a day, then the urgency was aesthetic, not factual. Second, check. There's an organization called Charity Navigator that does exactly that. It evaluates where the money from institutions really goes. 3 minutes of research can tell you if you're funding a cause or funding someone's third home. Third, donate only if the decision still makes sense without the pressure. If after all that, with the emotion settled and the timer on the screen turned off, you still want to give, then that's a decision. That's real generosity. And that's the only kind that's truly worth anything. If you want more uncomfortable truths like this, the kind your financial education teacher never dared to tell you because they didn't know them themselves, stay here. There's much more where that came from. Because here's the final thought. You thought you were responding to a cause, but maybe you were responding to a script. A very well-written script, tested in focus groups, adjusted by algorithm, calibrated to target exactly the type of person you are at the exact moment you were vulnerable. And the question that remains, the one I want you to carry with you, is simple. The next time the sad music starts and the countdown begins, who exactly will be in control of the decision? You or them?